Big energy on a Monday, or like come in soft?
Come in soft and finish hard.
There's no way we could start it off like that. All right, guys, happy Monday. It is the last day of the giveaway. 20 times entries on lsnasty.com. You guys can win our 1200 horsepower turbo Trans Am, Holley EFI, Strange S60, built 400 transmission, 91 millimeter turbo, Kirky seats, cage, parachute mount, CO2 boost control. Thing's got everything. It's got the badass aftermarket torque arm, like you name it, it's got it. You guys can win it, but you can't win it unless you're entered. And today, midnight is the deadline. It's 20 times entry, so every $1 you spend will get you 20 entries. Also, we have a limited edition shirt. This is the last day this shirt is available, and it is 1,000 entries just for this shirt alone. So at the end of today, entries close, a week or two goes by, they call me with who the one lucky winner is, and that person will be notified, and they are going to be the proud new owner of a 1200 horsepower turbo Trans Am. It could be you, but you can't win unless you're entered. So go to lsnasty.com, it's the first link in the description below, and get entered to win. All right, guys, we're starting the year off big. 1200 horsepower every time. 1200 horsepower turbo Trans Am, 91 millimeter turbo, 388 cubic inch LS on Holley EFI, built 400, built rear end, Viking suspension. This thing is a true muffin cap peeler. We're talking about Camaros today, keeping in line, giving away an F-body. I had to get another F-body because they're my weakness, and I've been daily driving a bone stock. Well, I shouldn't say bone stock. It's got a set of flow monsters on there. You got to unleash your monster.
What do you mean by that?
And the flow monster sounds good, but it's not enough. We need to increase the monstrosity of the flow monster. So, as you can see here, LSA blower. Yes, I'm going supercharged. The car is a true daily driver, and my guy John at Huron Speed, I'm a huge Huron Speed fan. We're actually going to be using some Huron Speed parts and TISS Fab parts on this build, but he tried to get me to go turbo, and I'm stubborn as hell. I'm a turbo guy at heart. I hate blowers, even though we have a screw-blown Hemi Pro Mod and I have a roots-blown LS race car. I figured for driving around and for keeping me in check, a blower would be the way to go. And my thought process behind it is, if I put a turbo on there, right? Like, I want something that makes, like, I don't know, 700, between 700 and 800 horsepower is where I want to be, which is a lot for a daily driver, like a true daily driver. Like, I drive this thing all over the place every day. If it had a turbo on there, then I get in this vicious cycle like I do with everything else, where I'm just like, oh, well, it's got a turbo, I can turn the boost up, and then it's at a fuel. I'm like, oh, well, I'll put another fuel pump on there, and then, oh, I'm at a turbo, so I put a bigger turbo on there. Next thing you know, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to daily drive a stick shift, quad disc clutch, 12 to 1500 horsepower Camaro, and then it needs a cage, and then I put a cage in it, and then it needs Kirky seats, and I put those in there, and then I need a new daily, and I'm really, really, really trying to avoid that. So I went with a used LSA supercharger, and this right here, superchargers suck. They don't make good power. They don't make good power up top. They make some decent torque. They sound not as cool as a turbo, but kind of cool. Blowers are ass. That's how I feel. Like, screw blowers are cool, but turbos are better. So I really had to keep myself in check and just remind myself that I don't want to be the fastest with this. I don't need to make the most horsepower. I just need to drive around and have a little more get up and go. So picked this up off Turbo Bullet. I know it's terrifying. I said I was, oh, I guess it's not Turbo Bullet. It was off a CTSV group. Yeah. My boy CJ found it. My boy Dave went down and picked it up. And this is a, I think they're 1.9, right? That's what they are, the LSA, not really large. 1.9 LSA blower. These come off like Camaro ZL1s or CTSVs. This one is a Kong ported blower, so I think the only thing on this guy that's ported is the snout. I could be wrong, but that's ported.
Looks nice.
I don't think anything else that is ported. It spins really good. The reason the guy was selling it is because he upgraded to their 2650, which is obviously, you know, a lot larger. The blower people, they try to keep it simple. Like they just put numbers, just like the turbo guys do, but they're a little bit more confusing because then you got roots and screw blowers. This is a 1.9. They came out with a new one, like a 2600. Just for reference, the screw blower on our Pro Mod is a 9.8. Blower right here, 1.9. Okay. This guy right here, 9.8 liters. So as you can see, slightly larger, a little bit more supercharging ability.
Hey, can you put the 1.9 up next to the 9.8?
Yeah, this is basically the size of the blower on the LSA.
Oh yeah, I don't see a size difference.
Yeah, no, we were gonna put this on the Camaro, but I think the visibility would have been an issue because I am daily driving it. So
mainly because we didn't want to ruin the factory pristine hood.
Yes, we don't want to mess with the hood, so we went with the LSA, which the rotors are literally this size. So. All right, so the overall build on the car, like I said, we're doing the LSA Supercharger. The LSA is an LS3 or LSA port, the square port. So they make the LS in three ports before you get into like the aftermarket where you start dealing with the oval port and the custom port. So from the factory, they make cathedral port, they make square port, which is LS3, and then they make rectangle port, which is the LS7. Most of our race stuff is LS7. A lot of our other stuff, like street car stuff, like Hank, David's car, Silver car, which I think we're gonna end up calling Dale, the Colorado, that's all cathedral port stuff. This here comes from the factory with the LS3 square port, which there's like a big debate. You know, some people like the velocity of the air that's provided by the cathedral port over the volume of the square port. Honestly, I don't think it makes a difference until you're like maxing stuff out. So I had to find a set of LS3 heads for this because I didn't want to run an adapter plate. So we're essentially building an iron block LS3. So we're gonna have a set of LS3 heads, 403 cubic inch, a 6-liter block. So the 6-liter block bored out, 4-inch stroke crankshaft with the LS3 head. So the real, like the guys that own the Camaros and the Corvettes that come from the factory with LS3, they're gonna be like, that's not a real LS3. It's got LS3 heads. I mean, that's really the only difference. Some trucks actually have the square port heads. They're not LS3, they're 6 liters. But it's weird, like the Corvette guys, they're proud of the LS3, and it must be an original aluminum LS3, but it don't matter. Iron block. I personally like the iron block over the aluminum block when it comes to the LS3 block. I've had nothing but bad luck with that. So here's the setup with it. We got a 4-inch stroke crank. I think this is what, an Eagle crank? Eagle crank. The 4-inch stroke crank is, for what we're doing, this is plenty nice. We really don't even need anything this nice. We would have been able to do this on stock crank. The crank you can really get away with not upgrading until you get into real high horsepower, high RPM applications where you need like a center counterweighted deal. But the crank, like a stock crank, I've made 1100 on stock crank before. They're very strong. So this is solely just to get the 4-inch stroke out of it. We got a set of rods. These are just kind of like your entry level. These are Eagle. These would be comparable to like a Cali's Comstar, a K1. This is the exact, I shouldn't say the exact same, a very similar rod, which is in Hank, which we've made, you know, based off of fuel consumption, crank horsepower, about 1550 to 600 horsepower. Way more power than these want, but we got it where it's easy on it, and we're able to keep them alive for now. So again, for what we're doing with the blower stuff's a little bit harder on a rod, but I think this is plenty for what we're doing. So just a set of aftermarket rods, something like this, you're looking like $700-800 for a set. Crank, I don't know how much is a crank, like, yeah, maybe $500 or $600 for a crank. We got all the bearings and everything with it. We got the block, it already has all the machine work. And then we got the pistons, just like a standard LS piston. Compared to a race piston, this thing is very, it looks very weak. The race pistons were used to being like fully skirted, so nothing's cut out here. It's just enough to literally put the rod in there and then put the pin through. But this one here for street application might be a little aggressive. It's a flat top, which I like, but compression wise on the street, we're gonna try to run it on E85, but it's gonna be on flex fuel because there are gonna be times like I'm daily driving this, if I can't get E85, I can't be like, well, I gotta get the car towed. Max that I like to do for driving around the street, pump gas with a blower or boosted, is like 10 and a half. That's pretty aggressive. I think we looked these up and these are like 11.2, so we're not too far off, but it's just something you gotta keep in mind. You gotta understand, if it's got 93 in it, probably, let's not lean on it for real long pulls and really try to go and race people. Wait till we get some E85 back in there. Yeah, that's the deal. So we got all the parts to assemble the engine. We got the blower. I am looking for a few parts. I need a reinforced brick, and I'd like to have a milled ZL1 lid and a set of fuel rails, and then we should be good with the blower stuff. The pulley combo, I've done some work with the LSA blower stuff before, and I kind of know where I want to be. Ideally, it'd be like a 9.5 or a 2.5 upper and a 9.1 lower, but this one's got the 238 upper. It's not a grip tech, which we'll see. I don't think we're going to have any belt slip issues, but who knows. And then we're going to run a 9.1 lower, so it'll make a little bit more boost than and spin the blower a little bit harder than I was initially looking to do, but it already came with the pulley on there, so I'm not going to take it off. It's just me being lazy. We're going to have to do like the stuff when we're spinning the blower that hard, coolant reservoir in the rear with the pump, and we'll pump coolant through it, just increase the volume and have good coolant with the reinforced brick. I think that'll be good to go. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it on what we're doing here. We're going to pull the motor out. We're going to be selling a average miles, 150,000 mile LS1 that runs great right now. Can't confirm it. We'll take a car up to 140, 150-ish. Just might take a minute because it doesn't make much power. And then we're going to stick this guy together and stick it in there. We're going to control everything on a HOLLEY Terminator with the dual ECU thing, because we're still going to run AC, power steering, factory gauges. We're literally just going to use the HOLLEY just for like the engine management. No other goodies. No. I'll probably control the fans through the HOLLEY and stuff like that, but we're not doing like boost control and all that stuff. This is real deal street car, so we're going to keep it as stock appearing, like when you pop the hood you want it to look like it came from the factory like that, and we're going to keep it as simple as possible because we want this to be as redundant and reliable. Daily drive it. I mean, I'm going to drive this thing from here to Florida. I'm going to drive it up to Pennsylvania. This thing's going to go everywhere, and that's, I think, pretty much it. Sounds like a pretty decent setup. I asked the people what to do. A few people said turbo, some people said NA. I wasn't doing NA, just could not do that. We're gonna go with the blower here because some people did say that. The camshaft too, we're also doing some R&D for TKM. We're gonna be running the Lamb cam, which we have in Hank, which is twin turbo setup. Sounds absolutely awesome. We have it in Dale, which is single turbo methanol. That sounds great. We're gonna see how it does with a blower. And I know the sound is going to be absolutely amazing. The thing beats the ground, and we're going to see how it likes the blower opposed to the turbo. It's close to a blower cam, but not definitely blower specific. But who knows? It might surprise us and make really good power. So we're not trying to set the world on fire with horsepower. We're just trying to go out there and make a solid. I don't know, if it goes out there and makes 700, 720 to the tires, I think in that car it will be absolutely terrifying.
I think it's going to make more power than that.
You think? You think we'll make 800?
I think it'll surprise you with the power. I think the engine will be very efficient.
Yeah, with having that much compression, it might make more. I know a lot of the guys with the LS, like the actual stock LSAs that do this stuff, they can go out there and make 700, 750 doing it through an automatic. So it might make even more. I mean, who knows? I just want something that sounds cool I could drive around with. And unfortunately, the more I'm talking about it and thinking about it, probably not going to get good fuel economy. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up. Don't forget, go to lsnasty.com to get entered to win our F-body. And I don't know, maybe when I get this one done, we'll line them up and I'll just rogue gears past you because I got that driver mod. Probably not. I suck at driving the manual. But go to lsnasty.com, first link in the description below. We'll see you guys in the next upload.